Hi, this is Kathleen LaValle with Huntsville Tutoring Company. Today we are going to talk about different strategies to use with your children who are diagnosed with dysgraphia or who you feel like certainly struggle with some characteristics of dysgraphia. And dysgraphia is struggling to write, and it can be all different types of writing. It can be the physical act of writing, like associated with handwriting, or it can also be just getting your ideas down from your brain to the paper. So one of the things that I do a lot of times with students when we start to work on writing is that we work on writing without the student knowing that we're working on writing. Because a lot of times my students are so worried about getting something correct. You know, they have felt failure, they have felt disappointment, and they don't want to disappoint us, and so they want to give us the right answer. So if I say, write a sentence about a dog, they will sit there and they will stare at me. They know a lot of things about dogs, but they can't get the sentence out because they feel the pressure of writing that they're going to have to write. So some of them feel the pressure because they don't want to be wrong, and some of them feel the pressure because they're scared that whatever they say, they're going to have to turn around and write. And for some of them, just the physical act of writing is hard. So a lot of times when we start with this writing, I will just have a conversation with them. I won't pull up anything on the computer screen or anything. If we're in person, we just start talking. So sometimes we talk about a vacation. Sometimes we talk about their favorite animal. We talk about something that would be fairly normal to talk about in regular conversation. And then that way they don't feel pressure from it and they don't feel like I'm going to make them write. So once we have talked about it, and I'll ask them questions, but they're engaging questions and they think that we're just having a conversation. I mean, we can ask stuff like, if we're talking about their favorite trip, you know, what was your favorite ride? Why did you like it? What did you not like about it? And then I'll go back and I will do the writing, and I'm not asking them to write. And normally I'll start it off by saying, that was really interesting. I'm going to take some notes so that we remember what you were talking about. So I'll just say, okay, so we're talking about our favorite trip. Ooh. So I'll just write favorite trip down and I'll say, can you remind me? Because I forgot what all you said already. So that's why I want to take some notes. And so they'll say, if we're talking about, we'll talk about 3 different trips this time. So they'll say maybe Disney World was one favorite trip. Let's see, going to the beach maybe was another. And then my kids remember going to Chicago. So we'll say going to Chicago is another favorite trip. So then we'll say, okay, those are your 3 favorite trips. And then I'll come back, and a lot of times if we're in person, I'll just do it on like a notepad like this, and I'll just write, you know, Disney World at the top of one. So I'll have 3 different sticky notes in front of me, and then we can just go back and jot down ideas. If I'm doing it on the computer, it depends on the student and the age. Sometimes I go ahead and do it in a Word document like this, or a Google Drive that we can, a Google document that we can share on Google Drive. Just depends on the student. But then we'll go back and we'll talk about, okay, what were a couple of things that you already told me that you liked about Disney World. And usually I'll start it and I'll say, okay, I remember that you said you liked going on Space Mountain. And then I'll say, oh yeah, and you liked swimming in the pools at the resorts. So swimming at the resorts. I'll say, I know you talked about more stuff, but I just can't remember. Can you tell me one more thing that you liked? And then they'll tell me one more thing. And so then we go through and we do that for all 3 of these. And then that's all we do in one day. And so then we'll put it aside, go on, do another stuff that we normally do during tutoring. And then the next time we come back, I say, hey, I have these notes in here. And I remember, you know, we were talking about these trips and that sounds like a lot of fun. Can we go back and talk about them? And so I'll pick one of them. Like I'll pick Disney World. And I'll say, let's talk about this again. And what else can you tell me about Space Mountain? Why did you like it? And so then again, we start with the conversation. And so after we've had a good conversation just about Disney World and talking about those 3 things, I'm really trying to focus in on those 3 things that they told me were important about their Disney World trip, then I will get to the writing part. And it depends on the kid. Sometimes at this point, I'm still the one doing the writing. Sometimes they're doing the writing. It depends on the kid, and it depends on what I feel like the kid is capable of and how the child or how the student is reacting to writing in general, because I want to keep their motivation up and I want to keep them proud of themselves, and I don't want to squash everything that we've worked so hard to build up, their confidence. And so sometimes it's a little bit slower to get to the point where they do the writing. But there's still nothing wrong with you doing the writing, because if it's a child that you're needing to do the writing on, then more than likely just creating the sentence and coming up with the words for a sentence is going to be hard for them. So you're still conquering a step even if you're doing the writing. So then that next day we'll talk about, and I'll have them give me 1 sentence about each. And we'll take this one topic and we can spread it apart over quite some time. It was thunder. Hang on just a second. I'm almost done with my video. I know. You want to come sit and finish the video with me? I know, but see, it's not raining. Sorry, we have thunder this morning. So anyway, so this is a way that you can take their writing and you can split it up for them to make them more confident so that they don't feel like they're lost. And if you do this enough, then they're going to start realizing that, oh, I can brainstorm, and start using words like brainstorm and using graphic organizers and webs, and show them how to use just a piece of paper to take notes on. Show them how to use a printed web that you put in a sheet protector, and they can use a dry erase marker on it. A lot of these kids, especially in the younger grades, are like around even really 1st, 2nd, 3rd, those grades, they do a lot of daily journals. And I've noticed that for my students that I'm able to give this strategy to, that they will start to kind of write out ideas, or at least think about it in this process, in this list 1, 2, 3, before they start to write. And it's not that they have to do this every time, but a lot of times once they learn this process, then this is what's comfortable to them. And it turns something scary, like a blank piece of paper, into something manageable, into something concrete, into something systematic. And for so many of my students, those things are so important. They have something systematic to work through, they can get to the final goal. But creating those steps on their own is very hard. So coming up with steps that's individualized for each child and how it can help them be successful is what is important. So just real quick, a couple of other things that help a lot of my students is to use the computer as well. They can type, they can use voice to text, so that they're not having to worry about spelling, because for many of my students, spelling is hard, and so is writing. So when you combine those two, their little brains have a hard time focusing on spelling and writing. So I really try to get them to focus on one or the other at a time. So first we write, and then we can always go back and edit, but we don't have to worry about what our spelling is the first time. Yes, darling?
It's raining really hard outside.
It is? Okay.
That's what's fun doing.
It is. So if you can let them know that it's okay for their spelling not to be perfect the first time, because many times they go back and they reread what they wrote the first time, and they'll correct maybe not all their mistakes, but they'll catch many of them, because then they're focused on spelling. They weren't focused on spelling the first time. They were focused on getting a complete sentence out. So, and this is, you can also do like a proofreading checklist where you have just a short little thing. Like for one of my students, I think it's caps that we use, or cap. So we do capitalization, punctuation, no, CP, capitalization, punctuation, and then I forgot I'll have to ask him. I haven't done it with him in so long because he automatically does it now. But he says he uses it all the time. Like when he's doing his daily edits at school and stuff, it's the systematic form that he goes through. So first he looks through for capitalization errors, then he looks for punctuation, and then I think it was spelling. I think it was CPS, because in the last one we looked for spelling errors. So for the first couple of weeks that we did this, we would just write CPS in the corner of his paper, and then really after like a week or two, like I said, I don't even have to say those words to him clearly because I don't remember it, but he remembers it, and that's the form, that's the systematic process that he follows when he edits. So anytime you can take something that these kids are struggling with and break it apart and make it systematic for them, you're going to make a big difference in their ability and in their confidence in what you're asking for them to do. So if you have specific questions about a specific task or something, please let me know, and I'm happy to share ideas and resources. I have a lot of resources, a lot of different individualized ideas to help in situations like this, but this is just one general idea that works for many, many kids. So have a wonderful day, and I will talk to all of you later.